Today on Investigate TV Plus, the burden of backlogs.
I don't know why this is hitting me today.
The trauma of a sexual assault compounded by an agonizing wait to have her rape kit processed.
It took over, I think, a year and a half for it to be tested the first time.
We take an in-depth look at why this survivor story is not rare, what's behind testing delays, and the changes one city made to clear unsolved cases.
Plus, a child's loss.
My dad died of leukemia when I was 6 years old.
A young girl experienced a pain that's difficult for most adults to comprehend.
I didn't quite understand everything.
But she learned how to cope with overwhelming emotions and gained wisdom beyond her years. We explore why children express grief differently and provide solutions to help you work through their heartbreak.
And a driving spirit.
The one thing that I was so determined to get back to was I'm going to get on the golf course.
A golfer overcomes physical challenges and inspires others to take a swing at the game he loves.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus.
More than 12,000 untested rape kits found in MPD storage almost 10 years ago.
A scathing report from the state's watchdog agency on South Carolina's rape kit tracking system.
There's a lack of urgency with getting rape kits processed in Mississippi.
Backlog of untested rape kits.
A backlog of sex crime evidence.
The backlog of more than 900 rape kits.
Across the country, rape survivors have been denied justice while critical evidence sits on the shelves of crime labs. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. An article published by the National Institutes of Health suggests survivors experience an extreme sense of betrayal and a loss of faith in the criminal justice system when their rape kits go untested. A rape kit involves an hours-long examination by a trained doctor or nurse in which evidence is collected from the survivor. The kit is later sent to a crime lab for testing. Once processed, prosecutors consider evidence collected from a rape kit one of the most powerful tools in their case.
However, kits often accumulate at crime labs, leaving survivors to wait years before receiving results. A 2022 report by the Congressional Research Service found estimates of the backlog range from 90 to 400,000 kits. In an attempt to clear their backlog, the Phoenix Police Department turned to outside labs after public outcry.
Investigative reporter Amy Cutler examines rape kit testing delays and how it impacts survivors.
The trauma of being sexually assaulted still haunts Kate 7 years later.
I don't know why this is hitting me today.
Kate's case, along with hundreds more, paused, waiting for her rape kit to be processed. Sexual assault is an especially personal, violent crime, and unlike other crime victims, coming forward often means undergoing an invasive, emotionally charged exam.
When you go to get a rape kit done, you're going to a hospital oftentimes, and then you have to wait for an on-call forensic nurse to come.
Kate says it took 8 hours waiting for the nurse, then the actual testing, her clothes taken from her, her body treated as evidence.
You are telling the forensic nurse exactly what happened to you in very great detail, and that was something that I personally was not prepared to do and ready to do at that time.
And what came next, she says, was even harder.
It took over, I think, a year and a half for it to be tested the first time, and then there were subsequent rounds of testing that took extra months, and I think the full process was around 2 years.
Kate's assault happened in Tucson, but survivors in Phoenix face similar obstacles. In July 2023, Phoenix PD admitted they had 835 rape kits that hadn't been tested.
Arizona's family has learned there's a major backlog of sex crime evidence.
The next month, city leaders approved $3.4 million to address the backlog, paying outside labs to process more kits.
There's new hope tonight for sex assault victims here in the Valley.
We followed up with Phoenix PD. As of February 2025, they say the backlog is down to 480 kits.
All of this creates this perception for certain survivors that I've spoken to that their situation doesn't matter to Phoenix PD. What would you say to those survivors?
I get that perception when a backlog 15 months ago was at 835. We understand that. We understand that was an issue we needed to solve.
Sergeant Rob Shore says staffing remains a problem. At last check, 8 of the 28 positions in the forensic DNA section of their lab remain vacant. They tell us finding the right people will take time.
That hiring process is upwards of 6 months. The training process is 24 to 30 months. I mean, you're talking potentially 3 years from really that recruitment element to realizing the benefit within our lab of that person.
What do you make of the numbers?
I'm excited that some of the kits have been tested. Any progress is good progress. However, it's just not enough.
As the head of the Arizona Coalition to End Sexual and Domestic Violence, Jenna Panis advocates for survivors like Kate. She argues Phoenix PD could be doing more. Right now, they're the only law enforcement agency in the state not using Track Kit. The program uses a barcode to track exactly where a rape kit is. Survivors can get that information real time.
During those 2 years, did you know where your rape kit was in the process? Like, did the detectives keep you updated, or was there a system to track where it was?
Not at all, no. And that was one of the parts that was the most frustrating about it.
According to the Department of Public Safety's 2024 annual report, 229 survivors logged on to the Track Kit system nearly 1,700 times to view the progress of their kits. The state even pays for it, meaning it would be free to Phoenix.
Why isn't Phoenix PD using that program?
So we have our own process, and I get the notion of wanting to see where your kid is at all times. We have a process through contacting our detectives, and we're up to that communication element legally.
Phoenix Police Department has launched.
Instead, Phoenix Police are creating their own tracking program, which will provide updates for all crime victims, including information on rape kits. But Panis has concerns. In emails, police said its program would be online in the fall of 2024, then in January 2025. But when we asked about it,
I don't have a time frame on that.
Status of their case.
Kate's ordeal ultimately led her to get a PhD in public health. Her dissertation focused on the experiences of sexual assault survivors.
Were you ever able to get justice in your case?
In ways, not through the criminal system. That did not work well for me.
Kate started a nonprofit called Survivors Rise to help survivors in the years after her assault. Her research helped identify the need, and she's working to meet it. Now, if you're a victim of rape or sexual assault, you can contact the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-HOPE. Help is available 24 hours a day. In Phoenix, I'm Amy Cutler.
Up next, a child's life after a death.
I know how to deal with the big emotions, and when it's appropriate to really have big emotions.
We hear how a young girl navigated her own grief and provide you with solutions to help nurture a child through loss.
Then later, a natural connection.
Our well-being is tied to the well-being of the natural world.
From the woods to the swamps and bayou, a biologist untangles the delicate links between humans and nature.
Grief is sometimes like an ocean. It comes on in waves, ebbing and flowing. Sometimes the water is calm, and sometimes it's overwhelming. All we can do is learn to swim. For children, child psychologists say navigating the waves of grief looks different than adults, mainly because kids are still developing their understanding of death.
A child may express grief through behaviors, not words, and they may act out their feelings rather than talking. To help children work through the deep personal loss, the Dougie Center in Portland, Oregon provides them with what staff members call a safe haven where grief is normal. Children are encouraged to talk and play with each other and share their experiences in the process.
One of those kids, a preteen girl who lost her father when she was just 6 years old, found comfort, healing, and common ground when she went to the center.
Reporter Ezra Kaplan shows us how she now inspires other children and adults to find understanding after loss.
The first place I sat was right here, like on the first day that I came in.
At 11 years old, Lula Olivaria-Poor already has wisdom beyond her years.
I'm in middle school right now, so there's a lot of little dramas, and now that causes like a lot of big emotions, and I know how to deal with the big emotions. And when it's appropriate to really like have big emotions.
Emotions like sadness, joy, and grief.
Do you think that your experience with grief has changed as you've gotten older?
Of course. Back a few years ago, I didn't quite understand everything, and now I know that it's okay to process however I need to, and that my dad's dead, and that's okay because everyone's parents die at some point, and it just happened a little earlier for me.
Just sitting here, you met a friend almost immediately.
Yeah, she was sitting right there. My dad died of leukemia when I was 6 years old.
You miss him a lot.
Yeah.
Lula is one of the 6 million U.S. children who lose a parent or sibling before graduating from high school. That's 1 in every 18 kids. At the Dougy Center in Southeast Portland, these kids and their families are given space and support to process their grief.
It's just such an amazing place where I get to talk about anything I need to. Anything that involves grief, it's fine here. Like, it's just such a warm, welcoming place, especially for kids like me. Because at school, there's not a lot of people I can relate to, but here, everyone has gone through something similar, and I can just talk to them freely without like censoring what I say because they might not understand.
Have you been able to kind of pass on any of the experiences that you've had to other kids?
Of course, like younger kids, older kids even, who are really in the thick of it, like of grief. I've been able to like help them. I've been able to comfort them, and if they want to talk about it, we can talk about it, and I don't force them to talk about it. I love this little tree. You can put messages into the frog.
At the Dougy Center, a circular hallway connects playrooms, each designed for different age groups and different expressions. One room has musical instruments. Another has a child-sized theater. Then there's the volcano room, where it's safe to express more explosive feelings. When Lula first visited 5 years ago, she was drawn to the hospital room.
I remember being in this bed a lot because me and my friend always liked to, like, one of us was the patient, one of us was the doctor, because both of our dads were kind of like always in the hospital. So it's kind of comforting to be able to like have a safe space where it's okay to like, because hospitals are normal, but for us they weren't.
While the Dougy Center doesn't offer formal therapy, healing is baked into every inch of the space.
Do you think that the Dougy Center is going to keep playing a role in your life?
Of course. It's always going to play a role in my life in that it helped me get through something really, really extremely hard in my life.
A refuge for grief in Portland, living up to its mission of being the right place when nothing feels right.
When talking about grief and death or expressing condolences to a child, some may find it difficult to find the right words. Dougy Center Executive Director Brennan Wood says the most important thing that you can do is talk openly and be there to listen.
It's okay to not know what to say, and it's also okay to say, I don't know what to say, but I love you and I'm here for you. People are different, and some kids and families are really gonna wanna talk about it. Some might not wanna talk about it as much. And so I'd say, especially when it comes to kids, follow their lead and also let them know that you are a safe person to come to when they do wanna talk about it.
You can contact the National Alliance for Children's Grief for resources and support near you. Just go to their website, nacg.org, for more information.
A different personal loss when he was just 16 years old threatened to take him away from the game he loved.
When I'm out here, I don't think of my disability. I just am a golfer.
Still to come, a golfer's journey to return to the green and how he's providing children like him an opportunity to do what they love.
But first, the human toll.
What is it about Louisiana bayous and swamps that you wish we all knew?
Their value was not appreciated.
A biologist takes a deep dive into the past and future of Louisiana's wetlands and shares their role in our survival.
A biologist who has spent a lifetime observing Louisiana's bayous and swamps shares his insights into how pieces of nature fit together.
Reporter Dave McNamara gets a lesson in the connections critical to saving the bayou habitat.
When Kelby Uchley walks through his wooded yard in northeastern Louisiana, he sees a lot more than trees and wildflowers. He sees the connection between the plants, their seeds, the chirping birds, and the animals that live near the Bayou D'Arbonne swamp.
Okay, this is a seed pod off of a big leaf magnolia. Red-eyed vireos tend to swarm these trees.
And you can hear those birds singing in the treetops.
Our well-being is tied to the well-being of the natural world, and we should do what we can to enhance and maintain the natural wonders that are around us.
Uchley is a biologist and naturalist. He spent most of his career working for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in Louisiana. And he's written several books about our Louisiana swamps and bayous.
There are over 400 named bayous in the state. They're found in at least 62 of the 64 parishes.
He says it would be hard to find a bayou that has not been impacted by humans.
What is it about Louisiana bayous and swamps that you wish we all knew?
Their value was not appreciated in terms of what they can provide to us, like flood control, for instance, storage of flood waters, sustainable forestry practices that can go on in some of these areas. And that's above and beyond the aesthetic values of a swamp or a bayou that many people appreciate.
Uchley takes me to Bayou D'Arbonne, where the water levels change drastically with the seasons. He explains how the overfishing of a species like garfish can impact freshwater mussels.
So there are certain types of mussels whose young can only attach to gar gills. If we eliminate all the gar, we can potentially eliminate the mussels. You eliminate the mussels, you eliminate the filtration system within bayous.
A lifetime of experiences are written into Kelby Uchley's books about the D'Arbonne swamp and bayou diversity. And those words help to untangle the complex links between the plants, animals, humans, and the slow-moving waterways that make up our unique bayou landscapes.
Up next, a horrific accident changed his life.
The propeller pulled me in and it hit me, and I knew pretty much immediately what had happened and knew I was really in trouble.
How his love of golf and his desire to get back to the game inspired him to persevere.
Golfers, like any athlete, want to be the best, and Nashville resident Jordan Thomas is no exception.
Jordan grew up around golf, and not even a life-changing accident could keep him from the sport he loves.
Reporter Garrett Short shows us how Jordan lives and breathes resilience and how he's spreading it to those like him.
Golf
began as a family affair for Jordan Thomas.
Started young, 7, 8, 9. Golf was something that was fun that I'd do with my dad, and so I would just go out with him. I loved that I got candy out of the deal, and that's how I got kind of hooked on the game.
Fast forward more than 2 decades, and he's ready to play in an international competition.
Pretty tough into this wind, isn't it?
While the nerves may be high when he steps up to the first tee, he'll still feel at home.
Golf has always been a really safe space for me, and a place where I can just kind of be myself. Then it means the world to me.
The game has been more than a sport. It's been a friend, an escape, and a reason to keep going when he needed it most.
Scuba diving in the Florida Keys. I was with my parents, and we went out one afternoon in August, and the propeller pulled me in, and it hit me, and I knew pretty much immediately what had happened, and knew I was really in trouble.
In 2005, at just 16 years old, Thomas had both of his legs amputated below the knee. He lost his legs, but not his passion.
The one thing that I was so determined to get back to was like, I'm going to get on the golf course.
His love for the game remained, but the way he could play changed. And that opened his eyes to a new world.
And that's when I learned about prosthetics and kids not having access to prosthetics. And that's when I just said, hey, I want to do something about this.
In the hospital, following a life-threatening, life-altering accident, he created the Jordan Thomas Foundation, which has since provided hundreds of children across the country with prosthetics.
We try to get kids not back just to walking, but to doing the things that they love so that they can be kids. I want to commit to them having a chance, an opportunity.
The accident took his legs, but it gave him and the world something in return.
I certainly wouldn't change it. It doesn't mean that it hasn't been easy, like all the time. Like there's been challenges for myself, and I deal with challenges daily. I think out of that was born so much triumph and joy and fulfillment for other people and for myself.
For Thomas and the hundreds of people his foundation has helped, life changes, but the person you are doesn't have to.
When I'm out here, I don't think of my disability. I just am a golfer, and that's the way that I think everyone with any kind of disability wants to be seen.
According to a study conducted by the National Center on Accessibility, 10% of persons with some disability now play golf, while 35% of individuals with disabilities are interested in learning the sport. True story here. We both watched this for the first time, as you did, and both of us were like, oh, wow, when that happened, but what an inspiring story.
Exactly,
Anyway.
and he didn't hide away from the world. Nope. He's using his story to encourage others to keep going, keep moving.
Good message. All right, that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zur.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Thanks for watching. On the next Investigate TV Plus, kids kept in state custody after parents are accused of failing court-ordered drug tests.
It's just heartbreaking, for her to have to go through this. But I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
How a father's fight to regain custody of his daughter exposes cracks in one state's child welfare system.